If you're driving a Toyota Tundra, a Lexus LX, or the brand new Lexus GX with that twin-turbo V6 engine, stop what you're doing. What I'm about to share with you could literally save your life on the highway. This isn't just another recall story. This is about Toyota, the company that built its entire reputation on one word: reliability, now facing one of the most serious engine defects in recent automotive history. And here's what makes this even more concerning. This is the second time Toyota has recalled these engines. The problem they claim to have fixed? It's back, and this time it's affecting even more vehicles. Today we're breaking down everything you need to know about Toyota's latest recall, affecting 127,000 vehicles. I've gone through the official NHTSA documents line by line, analyzed owner reports, examined the warranty data, and what I've found is deeply troubling. Because by the end of this investigation, you'll see that this might not be a simple manufacturing problem at all. It could be a fundamental design flaw that Toyota has been trying to downplay from the very beginning. So, if you own one of these vehicles, if you're thinking about buying one, or if you just care about automotive safety and corporate accountability, you need to stay with me through this entire breakdown. Let's get into it. All right, let's start with the basics. On November 6, 2025, Toyota Motor North America announced a massive safety recall affecting 126,691 vehicles in the United States. Now, I want you to notice something right away. This isn't Toyota's first rodeo with this engine. Back in May 2024, they recalled 102,902 vehicles for the exact same issue. So we're now looking at over 228,000 vehicles total affected by this twin-turbo V6 problem. The vehicles included in this latest recall are 2022 to 2024 Toyota Tundra pickups, non-hybrid models only. 2022 to 2024 Lexus LX SUVs, non-hybrid models only. And for the first time, the 2024 Lexus GX 550. Now here's where things get interesting, and by interesting, I mean concerning. According to Toyota's own filing with the NHTSA, they list the estimated percentage of defect as 1%. Sounds pretty low, right? Well, hold on. In the very next line of that same document, Toyota admits, and I'm reading directly from their filing here, they actually have no idea how many engines are defective. Toyota literally stated, "We cannot estimate the percentage of vehicles with the defect. However, the system requires a value, so we entered 1%. Think about that for a second. Toyota is saying, we don't actually know how widespread this problem is, but the government database made us put a number, so we just picked one. That 1% figure? It's completely meaningless. It's just there because the NHTSA form required them to enter something. Now let me tell you what makes this even more troubling. According to the recall documents, the affected production period runs from May 31st, 2023 through April 10th, 2024. But here's the problem. Owners of 2025 model year vehicles are reporting the exact same failures. I'm talking about engine seizing up, main bearing failures, catastrophic engine damage, identical symptoms to what's covered in the recall. But these 2025 models, they're not included in the recall at all. And it gets worse. The hybrid versions of these vehicles, the ones with the iForce Max powertrain, they're also excluded from the recall. Now, Toyota's explanation for this is that if the engine fails in a hybrid, the electric motor can still provide some limited power to get you to safety, and the system will give you warning lights and audible alerts. But think about what that actually means. Toyota is essentially admitting that these engines are failing, but they're saying, well, if you have the hybrid system as a backup, then it's not a safety issue. That's like saying a parachute with a hole in it is fine as long as you have a reserve chute. The primary system is still defective. Quick request before we go further. That subscribe button down there, clicking it costs you nothing but would be the best early Christmas present I could ask for. It's how we reach that 1,000 subscriber goal before the holidays. Let's get back to the crisis. Now let me share some numbers with you that Toyota probably wishes I didn't have access to. According to the official recall documentation, through October 2025, Toyota received 2,604 warranty claims and 303 field reports related to V35A engine failures in the U.S. market alone. Let that sink in. 2,604 warranty claims. That's not 2,604 people complaining about a weird noise or a check engine light. These are verified warranty claims where dealers confirmed that yes, the engine actually failed and needed major repairs or complete replacement. And remember, these are just the claims Toyota has received so far. How many owners are out there right now, driving around with contaminated engines that haven't failed yet? How many are experiencing early warning signs, slight knocking, rough idle, hesitation on acceleration, but haven't taken their vehicle to the dealer yet? Here's something else the documents reveal. The average mileage at failure for these engines, just 28,849 miles. Think about that. These engines are catastrophically failing at barely 30,000 miles. I've read reports of engines failing with as little as 5,000 miles on the odometer. One owner on CarComplaints.com reported their 2022 Tundra SR5 experienced total engine failure at just 10,500 miles. For context, Toyota's legendary 1GRF-E V6 and the 5.7-liter V8 they replaced with this twin-turbo engine, those engines were known for routinely running 200,000, 300,000, even 400,000 miles with minimal issues. That's the Toyota people came to trust. That's the reputation this company built over decades. This V35A twin-turbo engine, it's failing at a rate that would have been unthinkable for Toyota just a few years ago. Now, let's talk about Toyota's official explanation for these failures. They're blaming it on machining debris, metal shavings and particles that weren't properly cleaned out of the engines during the manufacturing process. They say this debris gets into the crankshaft main bearings, and over time, as the engine runs under high loads, it causes bearing failure. On the surface, that explanation might seem plausible, right? But here's where the story starts falling apart. First, these engines are being built at two completely separate facilities, Toyota Motor Manufacturing Alabama in Huntsville and the Tahara plant in Japan. Both plants are experiencing the same problem. Now, for a machining debris issue to affect two different factories on two different continents, both using their own equipment and processes, that would suggest either catastrophic quality control failures at both locations or, and stay with me here, the problem isn't really about debris at all. Second, and this is the smoking gun buried in the recall documents, Toyota admits that some engines produced after the affected period were produced with an improved main bearing. Read that sentence again. An improved main bearing. Not better cleaning procedures, not enhanced debris removal processes. An improved bearing design. Why would Toyota need to redesign the main bearing if this was purely a contamination issue? Debris is debris. If the problem is just leftover metal shavings, the solution is better cleaning, not a complete bearing design. You don't fundamentally change a component's design unless there was something wrong with the original design to begin with. This tells us something critical. Toyota realized that the original main bearing design wasn't robust enough for this engine's operating conditions. The pressure loads, the heat cycles, the stresses this twin-turbo configuration creates, the bearing couldn't handle it, especially if even small amounts of debris were present. Toyota's recall language admits this. They state that the pressure on the crankshaft main bearings due to the engine configuration makes these bearings particularly vulnerable to debris. Translation? This engine design puts so much stress on the bearings that they can't handle even minor contamination that other engines would shrug off. Now, let me share some real-world experiences from owners, because these aren't just statistics, these are people whose lives have been disrupted and, in some cases, potentially endangered by these failures. On the NHTSA complaint database, one Lexus LX100 owner reported their engine completely failed and they were out their $100,000 plus luxury SUV for over 150 days. That's 5 months, while waiting for Toyota to address the problem. They eventually had to seek legal assistance just to get resolution. Another owner described the terrifying experience of their engine suddenly losing power on the highway. The engine started knocking, power dropped off, and they had to fight to get their truck to the shoulder while other vehicles were flying past them at 70 miles per hour. Imagine that scenario. You're cruising down the interstate, maybe your family is in the car, and suddenly your engine cuts out. No power steering assist, reduced brake assist, and you're trying to maneuver a 5,000+ pound truck to safety in traffic. And here's what makes these stories even more frustrating. Many owners reported that they experienced warning signs, slight knocking sounds, rough idle, hesitation during acceleration, but when they took their vehicles to the dealer before the engine fully failed, they were told everything was fine. Only after complete engine failure did dealers acknowledge the problem. There's now a class action lawsuit filed against Toyota by multiple Tundra owners. The plaintiffs claim that Toyota's recall efforts are insufficient and that the defect violates state and federal consumer protection laws. They argue that even with the recall, they're forced to drive potentially dangerous vehicles while waiting for repairs. And given that Toyota admits they're still developing the remedy for this latest recall, those waits could be long. One particularly concerning aspect highlighted in the lawsuit is something owners call throttle lag or lurching. This is when you press the accelerator and nothing happens for a moment, then suddenly the truck surges forward. Imagine that happening when you're pulling out into an intersection. That's a rear-end collision waiting to happen. Let's address something that's been bothering me and should bother you too. Why aren't the hybrid models included in this recall? Toyota's official position is that hybrid vehicles have a backup power source, so if the engine fails, the electric motor can still provide limited propulsion and the driver gets warnings. Therefore, it's not a safety issue. But here's the logical problem with that argument. The hybrid and non-hybrid versions of these vehicles use essentially the same V35A engine. Same block, same bearings, same manufacturing process. If the non-hybrid engines are contaminated with debris and failing, why would the hybrid engines be immune to the same contamination? They wouldn't be. The debris doesn't care whether there's an electric motor attached to the transmission or not. What Toyota is really saying is this. Yes, the hybrid engines have the same defect, but because you have an electric backup system, we're not calling it a safety recall. That's a legal distinction, not an engineering one. Those hybrid engines are still experiencing the same bearing degradation, the same potential for catastrophic failure. The difference is just how Toyota categorizes the risk. And here's what should concern every hybrid owner. You might not be covered under this recall, which means when your engine fails, and based on the data, it's a question of when, not if, you might be fighting with Toyota over warranty coverage, especially if your failure happens after the warranty period expires. Toyota is essentially creating two classes of owners. Non-hybrid owners who get a recall and free engine replacement, and hybrid owners who get nothing until their engine fails and they have to navigate the warranty process. Now, if you've been paying close attention, you might be asking, what about newer models? Have they fixed this problem? That's the million-dollar question, and the answer is, we don't know yet. The recall covers 2022 to 2024 model years manufactured through April 10, 2024. But owners of 2025 model year vehicles are reporting failures with symptoms identical to the recalled vehicles. Same main bearing failures, same catastrophic engine damage, same low mileage when it happens. Toyota hasn't included these newer vehicles in the recall, which raises serious questions. Either the problem was truly fixed at some point in 2024 and these 2025 failures are isolated incidents, Or the problem continues, but Toyota is waiting to gather more data before expanding the recall again. Given that this is already the second recall expansion for this engine, my money's on option B. Toyota is likely monitoring failure rates on newer production runs before deciding to expand the recall further. The concerning pattern here is that Toyota initially recalled only 2022 to 2023 models, then expanded to include 2024 models. If this pattern continues, we could see 2025 and possibly even 2026 models added to the recall down the road. But by then, how many owners will have experienced failures? How many dangerous highway incidents will have occurred? For anyone considering buying a new Tundra, LX, or GX right now, this is critical information. You're basically signing up to be a test case for whether Toyota has actually solved this problem. And given their track record with this engine so far, that's a pretty big gamble. So what should you do if you own one of these vehicles or you're thinking about buying one? If you currently own a 2022 to 2024 Tundra, LX, or GX with the non-hybrid V35A engine, first, check your VIN immediately on Toyota's recall website and on NHTSA.gov. Find out if your specific vehicle is affected. Don't wait for the notification letter. Those aren't going out until late December 2025. Second, be alert for warning signs. Any engine knocking, rough idle, hesitation on acceleration, or unusual engine behavior. If you experience any of these symptoms, stop driving the vehicle and have it towed to a dealer. Do not drive it. These engines can go from slight knocking to complete seizure very quickly. Third, document everything. Take videos with your phone if you hear unusual sounds. Screenshot any warning lights. Keep copies of all service records. If Toyota ends up facing more lawsuits or extended warranty programs, your documentation will be essential. If you're shopping for a used Tundra or Lexus GX LX right now, get proof that the recall was completed. If it wasn't, that's massive leverage for negotiating. A truck with an unresolved engine recall can lose thousands of dollars in value, and rightfully so. And honestly, unless you're getting an exceptional deal and you're comfortable with the risk, I'd seriously consider looking at other options. There are plenty of reliable trucks out there. The Ford F-150 with the 5.0 V8, or even the 2.7 EcoBoost. The Ram with the 5.7 Hemi, the Chevy Silverado. All of these have their own issues, sure, but none of them are experiencing the kind of catastrophic engine failures we're seeing with this Toyota V35A. For Toyota, this is a reputation crisis. This is the company people trusted to build vehicles that would run forever with minimal maintenance. Now they're dealing with engines that can't make it past 30,000 miles. That's not the Toyota we grew up knowing. The question now is, will Toyota fully commit to fixing this problem properly, or will they continue with these incremental recall expansions, trying to minimize the financial impact while hoping the problem eventually goes away? Based on what we've seen so far, 2 recalls over 228,000 vehicles, 2,604 warranty claims, and still no permanent fix announced, I think we all know the answer. Stay safe out there, check your VINs, and as always, I'm here keeping you informed about the stories the industry doesn't want you to know. If this video helped you, hit that like button, drop your model year in the comments so we can see how many of you are affected, and subscribe so you don't miss our next investigation. This is Car Insider Network, and I'll see you in the next one.